Isn't it great to have Ronaldo with us? He's done such a great job for us over the last month. We have one more month with Ronaldo. He's here throughout the whole month of July. So we are very excited that you're here with us, Ronaldo. Thank you very much. So are you ready for a good night tonight? So the most important thing that's happening in this room is your relationship with God. For you to feel the presence of God that is within you and all around you. Jeremy, could you turn me down just a little wherever you are? Because if you start me out this hot, excited, there's no place for me to go, and I know I'm going to get more excited before this hour is over. So if you're here for the very first time, would you, where was I? Welcome. We're glad you're here. Our opening statement tonight is, I am a great giver. Will you say that with me? I am a great giver. Now, we're going to actually say it like we mean it, okay? One more time. I am a great giver. So for the next 6 weeks, we're going to focus on giving in greater and greater ways of ourself, of our soul, of our essence, so that we are giving at the highest level possible. Are you interested? That's what we're going to do. So for the next 6 weeks, it's all about, I'm going to give at the level that my soul came to give. Okay? Pray with me. Let's open with a time of prayer as we experience the presence and power of God that is within us and all around us. That tonight we are here for God. We are here to be the living expression of all that God is. We are here to express all the joy and good and laughter and fun that God has placed in our souls. We are here to be a light into the world, to be God's radiant presence, to give and to share all that God has placed within us. And as we give, to watch that come back to us over and over again in greater and greater ways. Tonight we decide to give more of ourselves, to give more of our soul, to give more of our presence, and let the glory of God express through us in ways that are greater than we've ever done before. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. All right, so let's do together our mission statement, shall we? There it is. Here we go. Together. Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them. Okay, this is the time that we move into our time of meditation. So I invite you, if you haven't already, please turn off your cell phone. And I want you just to relax. And the whole idea is to feel the presence of God within you, to really connect with your sacred center and feel the glory of God. So Kirsten's going to sing us in, and then we're going to have a quiet time. So I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to feel the infinite Spirit of God that is within you and all around you. That you are connected to the infinite. You are connected to all that God is. You are connected to the very presence and power of God. That it is your sacred center. That God is right there. Closer to you than your heartbeat. Nearer to you than even your breath. So tonight in prayer, I'm going to invite you just to sit in the presence of all that God is. And let your soul drink in God. Let your soul take it in and feel the glory of God. Let your mind become still. Let your thoughts become quiet. And simply feel God. Feel the greatest level of good that you've ever known. Feel a peace that passes all understanding. Feel the deep, deep, quiet joy of feeling connected to the infinite. That God is right there, right in the midst of you. That you don't have to go to the mountaintop or a special shrine or sanctuary. God dwells within you. And our only job is to give that expression. To let the glory of God express through you, as you. That in every day, in every way, we are expressing more and more God. We are becoming more and more godly. Not because we're working on it or trying, but we're simply allowing the God in us to express more fully. We're allowing the greatness that was placed into us from the beginning of time to be fully expressed. God is great in you. God is amazing in you. God is so much, so vast, so good. And you were the point where all that wants to be expressed. And every man, woman, and child is an expression of God. Everything that we see is an expression of God. From the smallest grain of sand to the greatest mountain is an expression of the Spirit of God. And that Spirit is in you. That Spirit is you. It is your truest self, So tonight we hold all the names on our prayer list, knowing that God in each person is doing a mighty work, healing, blessing, transforming every situation. We see God is at work in the world for all people of all nations, of all races, of all colors and all creeds. We see all people expressing the divine. We hold a vision for a world that works for everybody. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. Okay, I am excited. You know, one of the things as a minister, I really like to be excited about all my talks. I really like to be excited about the spiritual principle or the idea that I'm sharing every week. But tonight is one of those ideas that's had such a profound effect on my life that I'm a little afraid I'm going to mess it up. All right? You know what I mean by that? Like if you've had a profound experience, I really want to deliver this talk in such a way that you get how profound this experience has been for me personally and for us as a family. This idea that we're going to share tonight is life-changing. Because it's always good when a minister's having a spiritual experience, right? Have you ever seen a minister who looks like they haven't had a spiritual experience in about 20 years? Right? It's kind of like the words are coming out, but you're like, nobody's home. You're like, hello, is God in there left? You know, is there any juice left? But this one for me, I'm trying not to get too excited about. Because in a very real way, it's been enough. Let me just get to it. Do you think that you've given all that your soul came to give in this lifetime? On a scale of 1 to 10, just make it up. Do the best you can. All the highly intellectual people are going, oh my God, I hate these, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you just to take a guesstimate how much you've given that you came to give and how much you're still holding in reserve. Like you at 2, you look at 8. Are you at 4 or 5? Do you feel like you've barely scratched the surface, or you've done a really good job and you've maxed out and now it's sliding to the end? Right? So where do you think you are on the scale? Now, my next question is, Do you feel like you've received all that you wanted from life? Like, have you received as much as your soul was hungry for when you came? Because I believe that every soul has a certain level of hunger. And some souls are just more hungry. They're hungry for God. They're hungry for good. They're hungry for life. And not every soul has the same kind of hunger for life. And so my question for you tonight is, how much have you experienced life? Have you experienced all that you wanted? A portion of what you wanted? And again, because you'll hate this one too, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think you are in receiving what you came for? So I want you to look at these two ideas. How much have you given what you came to give, and how much have you received what you came to receive? And you could say, Richard, I don't have an idea at all. But I think if you tell yourself the truth, you know how much in your soul that you know is either untapped, or you know, no, I've done a really good job. And I feel like I've really given the vast majority of what I came to give. And that's the question that I want you to ask, to entertain tonight. Where are you? Because I think the way that we answer that question actually matters. Because wherever you are, if you feel like you're a 2 or a 3, well, I want to really inspire you to get about it. Like to really be about what you came for, to give at the level that you came to give, and to give in incredible ways that you know that you came to give. And if you're here to receive and you know that you've only scratched the surface and that there's so much more that you know that your soul came to receive, I want you to be about that. I want you to actually make a personal commitment that you're going to give yourself fully away in this lifetime. That you're not going to hold anything back in reserve. You're going to decide that it's safe for you to give all that you are and see how it would live the rest of your life, to just be dramatic in how much you give of yourself. Because for most of us, we can tell, we see, we know the way we hold back, the way we play it safe, the way we kind of give it 50% with a little bit of charm. And we know that with a 50%, a little bit of charm, that's usually enough. That no one or most situations don't expect us to give more than that. But what if we need to give it? What if you were always a really bright student and you never really had to try, so you never really gave at the level that you knew you could? But what if that was so for your soul? What if your soul came big and bright and amazing and wonderful, and you know that most of life you can skirt through with 20% of your soul energy? But also, if you live your whole life at 20% of your potential, how much does that grow your soul? How much does that even challenge you? How interesting is that to know that you've created a life that you can move through at 20% and nobody expects more than that? Would you be willing to play in a life, in a world that is bigger than you've played before, simply for you? Like simply because your soul wants to play a bigger game. Because your soul knows it has more in it, and it also sees that maybe you don't have forever to get this part of your life handled, that you better get on with it. If you're going to do it, you better get after it, because you only have so much time left on this planet. So the question then becomes, what would it look like if you played full out for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, how many years you have? What would it look like if you played full out? See, the series that I'm going to be doing for the next, it was going to be 4 weeks, and I just expanded it to 6 weeks. It's not going to be 6 weeks. It's a little book called The Go-Giver. And the whole premise of being, you've all heard the expression being a go-getter, right? And the idea of being a go-getter, right, is you're going to go and you're going to get what you want from life, and then you're going to be satisfied, right? The idea that if I go and get everything I want and I can bring all that stuff into my garage, right, now I'm happy, right? How many of you have more than enough stuff in your garage already? Right? Like we have storage units full of that stuff, right? So the idea of life isn't really to go get more, because most of us pretty much have enough stuff, right? But the real focus of life is to go give. To go give the sum total that your soul came to give. And would you be interested in that idea? And so over the next few weeks, I'm going to share with you one idea a week. And if you choose to play, the idea is that you're going to begin to practice that idea within 24 hours. Now, there's no gong if you don't do it, right? We don't buzz anybody and say, you can't come to church next week. You didn't practice the last principle, right? But each one of these principles are unique enough, interesting enough, challenging enough that they're going to require a week of practice. Because sometimes in life, we have so many ideas that we're practicing that sometimes we don't give ourselves enough time to really practice any one of those ideas with enough depth to make a difference. So what we're going to do on Wednesday nights is I'm going to give you an idea, and it's all in the book. And even if you read ahead, we're still going to focus on one idea at a time. So we're going to focus on one idea, and you're going to practice it to see how it works for you. Okay? Now, how many of you have ever heard of Napoleon Hill? Anybody? Okay, good. Well, he's got a couple different books. One that most people have read is, right, Think and Grow Rich, right? Which is like, it's like an eighth of this, right? But this is his big dog, right? This is the laws of success. This is his big dog. In his big dog, there is an experiment. And I'm going to, this is your homework for this week. You ready? This is your experiment. And you can either choose to play or not. The experiment. During the next 6 months, make it your business to render useful service to at least one person every day, for which you neither expect nor accept monetary pay. Go at this experiment with faith that it will uncover for you one of the most powerful laws that enter into the achievement of enduring success. You will not be disappointed. The rendering of this service may take any one of many forms. For example, you may render personally to one or more specific people, or it may be to render to your employer in the nature of the work that you perform, but do it after hours. Again, it may be rendered to entire strangers whom you will never expect to see again. It doesn't matter, not whom you render the service, so long as you render it willingly and solely for the purpose of benefiting others. If you carry out this experiment, it is in proper attitude of mind that it will discover that all the others who are familiar with this law upon which it's based have discovered that no one can render service without receiving compensation. No one can render service without receiving compensation. You cannot withhold the rendering without suffering the loss of the reward. Cause and effect, means and an end, seeds and fruit cannot be severed. For the effect of already blooms in the cause, the pre-existence in the means, and the fruit in the seed. So here's your homework. For the next, and you get to decide, 6 months, every day, one act of service without anything in it for you. Now, when I say without anything in it for you, the whole spiritual principle behind it is what? As you give, so shall you. Right? But you're not expecting them to pull out their wallet and give you cash, you're doing this act of service for the pure joy of actually engaging in a spiritual law. And if you decide to do it for a month or 2 months or whatever, the first time I did it, last year, this time, it was late June last year, I did it for 90 days. I did it for 90 days. I thought, well, I don't really have enough faith for 6 months, right? Every day for 6 months, how can I keep that up? But I could do it. I could see myself doing it for 90 days. So what I decided to do was that for 90 days, because when I'm not here or I work with individuals coaching, what I decided to do last year is that I decided that I was going to give a free 20-minute coaching call to anybody who wanted it for 90 days. 90 days, right? So it was free. No expectations, nothing. Free. Send it out to on Facebook, send it out to my email list, send it out to anybody, and I got 150 replies. Right? So the idea was I was going to do one for 90 days, and each person 90 days, and I got 150 replies. My assistant got a little excited by that. She said, Richard, what are we going to do? We blew past 90 instantly. What are you going to do? And I said, well, we're just going to do whatever it takes. If some days I have to do 2 or 3, we'll do 2 or 3, but the idea is we're going to get to all 150 people. Right? And what I want you to know is that my life has been more abundant this year than it ever has before. I mean, I worked harder for nothing more than I have maybe for a long, long time. But I got to tell you, in ways that I could not even imagine, I have been blessed in the last year in crazy, wonderful ways. And there were some parts of last year, that were tough. They were hard. And I got to tell you, money came from out of every direction possible. So here's what I'm inviting you into, right? I'm inviting you to play at the idea of outgiving the universe. An experiment. To see if you do one thing totally, completely without expecting anything in return, if it doesn't come back to you in ways that you can't even imagine. Now, how many of you can already feel a level of resistance to playing this game? Anybody? Right, because all of us do, right? It's like, well, I don't have time, I don't have the energy, I don't want to do it. Like, am I really doing it for free, or can I just do it for a discount, or, can I just do once a week? Does it have to be every day? I just want you to feel all the levels of resistance that you have to this, and I invite you to play anyway. Now, it doesn't have to be anything other than what you decide it's going to be. But I'm going to challenge you tonight that all service, all gifts are not equal. Do you believe that? That all gifts are not equal? I have 2 aunts, and if they see this, I am in so much trouble. But I have 2 aunts. And at Christmas time, one aunt would give the most amazing gifts. They would be perfect. They were child age appropriate. They were like the perfect gift. And the other aunt would give socks. Or, that equivalent of a gift. And you were supposed to like both gifts equally as much. And we would get coached. Okay, now when you open both gifts, you have to act exactly the same, right? Because they're going to tell. They're going to see it. And, as a kid, just lying to people's face doesn't always make sense, because one was like a great gift and one was socks, right? And I know it's the thought that counts, but it's socks. How much thought went into socks, right? And I guess that we needed socks. I never thought I needed socks. I lived in Southern California. Socks never seemed to be a high priority for me, but they were nice, They were clean, they were new. I was a boy, they were a good idea, I guess. Socks, right? So what I want you to see in this is that not all the ways that you give, the ways that you serve, are equal. And what I want to challenge you in this one is I want you to see if you can give the best that you do. I want you to see if you can give your greatest gift. Like, it's wonderful if you go sweep a neighbor's driveway or their front step, right? That's an incredible act of service. But I'm going to challenge you through this to see if there's something that maybe you could do even better than that. That is more of your soul. That is more of your essence. That is more of what God put within you to give to the world. And in this exercise, you never have to be paid for it. This can be a pure experiment in giving expression to your own personal greatness. So if you cook great, then give that. Like, or if you do arts and crafts great, then you give that. If you are affirming and know how to pray with people, give that. If you like to do acts of service and you're handy, and then go give that. But I want you to see, I want you to challenge yourself to see if you can give from the highest level of gifts that are within you. Because one of the things that's so amazing about this experiment is that we're actually giving God to each other. Like when you give the best that is within you, you're actually giving the goodness, the greatness of God to the people around you. Instead of just going through the motions, you're actually giving them your best. And if you give from your best, guess what comes back to you? The best of the universe. See, we can do little things, and I don't want you to not do little things. I want you to look for ways to give. But I want to make sure that you're challenging yourself to give the greatest and the finest that's within you. So what would that be? What is it that you know is the best that you can do? The best that you're about? What is it that God has given you to give to the world? Would you be willing to give that away? Without any thought of who's going to pay for it or how much they're going to pay for it? Any thought about, are they going to take advantage of me? Are they going to blah, 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 blah? Every day, you pick one person and you give them your best. Because I promise you that if you give them your best, you will unleash more and more and more of the Spirit of God that's within you. So anybody want to play? Okay, so here we go, and you can decide. So I would suggest for 30 days at least, right? If you want to go to 90 days, go to 90 days. If you want to go, do the whole 6-month thing, you can do the whole 6-month thing. But I want to make sure you give yourself, that's why we're doing this for at least 6 weeks. I want to make sure you give yourself enough time to really learn how to give your best. Because what I want you to see is that's not where most of us give from. We don't ask, how much in me do I want to give? We say, look at the situation and say, how much of me does this situation require? And we give just that amount. We are so used to looking at the external and deciding how much we're going to give, letting the external define how much we give of ourselves, instead of saying to ourselves, how much more of me? How much more in me do I want to give expression to? That interests me. I want you to feel like you've played your full hand. On your last day, on your last moment, I don't want you to have one card left in your hand. I want you to play every card in every way and feel like you've played the game full out. Are you willing? Okay? One of the things he says in Go Getters is go givers. Did I say go getters? Okay, somebody gets a nickel every time I say that, right? So one of the things he says in Go Givers in this first chapter is most people look at the fireplace and say, when you give me heat, I will give you a log. How many of you know it doesn't work that way? Right? How many of us are still mad that we have to give first? That we're just mad that we have to give first. Right? Because we want the universe to give to us before we give to the universe. And unfortunately, it never works that way. If you want more heat, if you want more juice, if you want more life, if you want to be more blessed, if you want to live a bigger life, I promise it's in you to give. It's in you to give. But if you keep saying to the universe, send me more, but you're not giving first, it doesn't seem to work that way. So this week, your homework is I want you to decide, first thing is I want you to decide what you're best at. What you're best at. And I want you to see if you can come up with a way to give what you're best at to somebody every day. You get to decide how much, you get to decide when, but the idea is that you give your best to one person every day. So you willing to play? And then every week we're going to take one of these spiritual ideas that he gives in the book, we're going to take them apart, we're going to practice them, we're going to play with these ideas, with the idea at the end of these 6 weeks, we're going to be radically good go-givers. Radically good go-givers. So you willing to play? Let's pray. And I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God. That tonight we are putting it to the test. We are going to actually see how much is within our soul and how much our soul wants to give. We're going to see if we can unleash the greatness within us and give it away. To see if the universe really is abundant, if it's infinite. To see if the spiritual law really applies. To see if we can give and give and give and receive and receive and receive, but not from where we're giving it, but from a universe that's willing and open and wants to give to us. We give in one place and we receive in another. But we trust that as we give our greatness, that everything that we need will be provided and so much more. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. God bless you all. Have a great week. Oh, this is the time of giving of our gifts and tithes. It's already happening. Now that I'm doing Wednesdays and Sundays, I'm getting a little confused about which order of service I'm in at what service. So this is the Wednesday night. So this is now the time of our giving of our gifts and tithes. And so I invite you to hold your gifts in your hand as we bless them together. Are you willing? Here we go. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Let's say that one more time together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. Here we go. You ready? You engaged? You ready to go? Let's stand, let's sing our song of peace, and let's go have a great night. Together are perfect protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless you all. Have a great week.